So Barcelona are through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League for the first time since Lionel Messi's departure. And like the Barca Leo grew up in, the Blaugrana standout performers were none other than graduates from La Masia, with 16-year-old Lamine Yamal continuing his historic breakout campaign, 20-year-old Fermin Lopez finding the back of the net early on, and 17-year-old Pau Cubarsi becoming the youngest player to ever debut in the Champions League knockout phase, while chipping in a man-of-the-match performance in the process. Today we examine these three players and take a closer look at recent performances that proudly mirror the ethos espoused by their manager, a man who symbolizes the best of what Barca used to be, and if recent form is anything to go by, what Barca can soon become again. Today we shamelessly ask, can Barcelona win the Champions League with teenagers? Welcome back, guys. You're watching the Sideline Starters, and my name is Andy, first team all sideline. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, I know every time a teenager breaks through Barca's A-team, he's dubbed the next Messi, but hear me out. I think he's the real deal. Meet 16-year-old Lamine Yamal. If you've been following Spanish football for the last year, you'll know La Roja did everything in their power to nationalize the potential Moroccan as fast as possible, and with good reason. At just 15 years old, Lamine Yamal was already showcasing the explosive dribbling ability and attacking intelligence that clubs pay millions of pounds for, and ultimately left Xavi no choice but to grant him his first team debut off the bench in April of 2023, making him the 5th youngest player to appear in the Spanish top flight, and the youngest to appear for Barca's first team since Armando Sagi in 1922, which means Yamal broke a record that's been around longer than Aang was trapped in the iceberg. Drop a like if you got the reference. But anyway, back to Yamal. Lamine made his very first start of the season on match day 2 and hasn't looked back since, with his fearlessness on full display anytime a defender attempts to close distance, with his explosive acceleration launching him into open space, leaving grown men looking like training cones planted on grass. His press-resistant close control and natural dribbling ability have already amounted to possession metrics that enter the top 10% of Europe's best wingers, but his shooting ability might actually be even better. After all, his long shot against France in the Under-17 Euros went viral, and poetically prefaced him becoming Spain's youngest ever goalscorer. In the last few months, we've seen Yamal begin to turn his powerful left-footed finish into a trademark, while still being clever enough to recognize when he should pass to his teammates instead. Commendable decision-making that's resulted in 4 goals and 3 assists in the league so far. And did I mention he's just 16? I did, right? Okay, just checking, because the kid's in the middle of a growth spurt, for God's sake. And with that maturation comes the strength and confidence to become Barcelona's first line of defense, as he creates chances by relentlessly pressing the opposition high, as evident by Yamal amassing the 2nd most tackles on the entire team. He's everything you could ask a forward to be, but Barca also have a breakout star in midfield. In the wake of Gavi's torn ACL and Barca's coaching staff running Pedri into the ground, culers have turned to 20-year-old Fermin Lopez to restore balance to Xavi's midfield, and it looks like their faith is being rewarded. Despite only playing in a third of the season's possible league minutes, Fermin has registered the 2nd most successful take-ons amongst all of Barca's central midfielders, a stat that illuminates the youngster's appetite for the audacious, encouraged by a first touch that can unravel an entire midfield, and close control exemplary of La Masia's emphasis on technical ability. He's the kid you want to call a ball hog but don't, because you know for every time he's dispossessed, he'll come right back and put another defender on skates, and ultimately make your team more dangerous in the process, as demonstrated by Fermin's excellent possession percentiles across Europe's top 5 leagues. And although he's only scored twice in his 21 league appearances this season, he's already racked up 2 goals and 1 assist in 6 Champions League appearances, and is averaging a goal contribution every 88 minutes. Not to mention that when Fermin does manage to find the back of the net, he makes sure there's some of the most disgusting goals you'll see all year. Now, he might be a late bloomer if we're holding him to Yamal standards, but I'd argue it's better that Fermin develop at his own pace and fight for his place on the team, instead of following in the footsteps of his younger classmates who have been overworked and overplayed. He's made the most out of his moments so far, with his opener against Napoli in the Champions League round of 16 perhaps his most crucial, but no one's capitalized on Europe's biggest stage more than La Masia's latest defensive prospect. It's been 10 years since Carles Puyol said goodbye to the beautiful game, and 2 years since Gerard Piqué was essentially forced to retire to lessen Barca's crippling debt. And in all that time, it seems like fans have been waiting for a center back to pick up the mantle left by two of the greatest defenders La Masia has ever produced, and I think they might have found him. 17-year-old Pau Cubarsi is the latest revelation to enter the Blaugrana's back line. The boy arrived at the forefront of European discourse unannounced and all at once, thanks to a man-of-the-match performance in his Champions League debut, where he not only pocketed one of the best strikers in the world, but calmly returned control back into the build-up phase of a team who had been lacking it all season. So much so that by the end of January, their very own manager announced he would be leaving the club by season's end. But ever since Xavi declared his departure, Barcelona have played 7 league games and lost 0 of them. 7 league games in which Pau Cubarsi was named a starter, and 7 games in which the teenager would play 609 of a possible 630 minutes, which equates to 96% of the possible game time. A run of form that's seen Barca's defense marshaled by a 5'11 center back who blitzes 6'4 strikers for their lunch money, displaying the aggression and tenacity that everyone loved in the 5'10 center back that inspired Cubarsi's style of play. This robust yet vintage approach to defending is not just a learned skill, but an inherent obligation to protect something of value. A surgical approach that results in world-class percentiles for challenges lost, tackles in the final third, and total tackles won. But he's more Piqué than Puyol once you see what he can do with a football, as he sprays long balls to his teammates' feet like he's been doing it for years, taking a momentary glance of a field he's already committed to memory before releasing a perfectly weighted lob pass. And the numbers back up what we see, with Cubarsi already ranking as one of the most accurate and voluminous passers across Europe's top 5 leagues. He just turned 17, which is honestly the scariest part about all of this. Lamine Yamal, Fermin Lopez, and Pau Cubarsi all share skill levels for their age group that are borderline scandalous, and with sensation comes expectation. Can Barcelona win the Champions League with essentially 3 teenagers in their lineup? Yes, I think they can, as in it's a possibility. Whether or not it's a likely one, however, is an entirely different conversation. We may have seen crazier underdogs win the competition before, but we've also seen Barca compromise its youngest talent through reckless game management as well. So for the sake of football as a whole, let's all just hope that La Masia's latest crop of talent doesn't spoil in the spring.